Hello, citizens of Gotham. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching The Political Vigilante. You can support us with Bitcoin right there. That's an on-chain address. We are working on getting a Lightning address. And check out Government Secrets Live, July 11th in Los Angeles. We rarely do Government Secrets live shows. It's at an awesome venue at Bergamot Station in Santa Monica. It has free parking. It's off the Expo line of the Bergamot Station stop of the Expo line. You can get tickets at grahamelwood.com. They're going fast. So check that out. And also Julian Assange, as of this Monday, June 24th, has been set free. He reached a plea deal. And as of the time of this recording, there's footage of him getting on a plane in the UK, and he's on his way back to Australia. So that's what we know about that. And I bring that up because it's significant news, and it also ties into this story that we're going to do of how independent voters are getting more and more. And the young people, many of whom helped Biden get elected in 2020, but even the younger Gen Z, like who are in college now, they weren't legal to vote in the last election 4 years ago. Well, now they are, and they're just like fed up. And there was a study that came out from Arizona State University, which that's fine. I went to University of Arizona, bear down, but 2 out of 3 Gen Z voters in Arizona say they will vote in November, ASU survey finds. So let's get into what this says. 4 in 5 say the 2 major parties don't represent them. This is key statistic right here. 49% say they're registered independents. So 80% say the 2 parties don't represent them. And of that 80%, half of them are like, we're going third party. 2 out of 3 Gen Z registered voters in Arizona say they plan to vote in this year's general election, while 4 and 5 say the 2 major political parties don't represent them, according to results of the new Arizona State University survey. ASU Center for Independent and Sustainable Democracy interviewed with 1,315 Arizona registered voters aged 20 to 30 in May. The center posted the results in a new report entitled Frustrated but Engaged Gen Z Attitudes on Voting, Parties, and Issues in 2024. So they understand they need to vote and it's important, but they're also like, neither of these parties represent me at all, which I could not agree more. The survey is supported by a grant from Arizona Citizens Clean Elections Commission. It has a margin error of plus or minus 2.7%. 66% of Gen Z voters surveyed said they plan to cast ballots in November, the survey found. Of those, a like number of Democrats and Republicans, 78% each, say they plan to vote, as do 53% of independents, according to Center for Co-Director and Professor Tom Rowley. But a commanding majority of respondents, 4 out of 5, say the 2 major parties aren't compatible with people their age or the country's best interests. They're not, these parties are not compatible with anyone at any age. They overwhelmingly say the 2 parties are not working for them, said Riley, who said the survey found 80% of respondents disagree with the statement, the current political system works for my generation, and both Republican and Democratic politicians want what's best for the country. Wow. They have right on. 49% of respondents, more than those who say they affiliate with the 2 parties combined, say they are registered independents. About 1/3 identify as Latino. The 30-page report's title, Frustrated but Engaged, reflects a dual attitude among 30 and younger voters. Arizona Gen Z voters are ready to step in to take over as the boomers fade away, but they are profoundly frustrated with the political world that has been handed down to them. They are not ready to give up on democracy, but they want to participate on their own terms. Several ballot initiatives that will go to Arizona voters this November could draw younger voters to the polls. Practically striking was the finding that independent Gen Z voters who did not vote in 2022 were more likely than their Democratic and Republican counterparts to say that ballot initiatives on abortion rights, open primaries, and funding for public education would motivate them to vote. The survey's overall findings indicate that potential uptick in Gen Z voter turnout this year would come from independents. Ooh. So this is something that I've been tracking, I've done interviews. I just did them 2 weeks ago in Sacramento. And in November, I did interviews in Nevada, where we interviewed a lot of independent voters of all age groups and all. I mean, independent voters, I'm telling you, there are growing in number. They all, most Americans agree that the two-party system isn't working. Even people that identify with one of the two parties, a majority of them are like, the two-party system isn't working. I mean, I interviewed a guy that's worked, he was, when Arnold Schwarzenegger was governor, he was a Republican, governor of California. This guy was his communications director. So he's a Republican, but he doesn't like, I call him like a Reagan Republican, but he doesn't like Trump or the Trump wing of the Republican Party. He said this country desperately needs a viable third party. Doesn't matter, green, libertarian, whatever, just a third party that has some muscle is what this guy said. This is like a tried and true, like Reagan Republican, small government. He's like, we need this. That tells you something. 90% of respondents say the cost of living is a serious concern for them, followed by affordable housing and protecting the water supply. Wow. Healthcare is next at 79%, followed by fair and secure elections, 78%, jobs, 76%, and reproductive rights, 74%. Farther down the list are gas prices, 56%, and reducing student debt, 49%. Only 25% consider a proposed U.S. ban on TikTok to be a major concern. Independents and Democrats were aligned on affordable housing, healthcare, reproductive rights, and climate change in the survey, while independent support is similar to that of Republicans regarding insecure elections, taxes, gas prices, and gun rights. Water availability is a regional issue with strong concerns among young voters in Arizona that might not be reflected of views of voters of similar ages in other states. I would argue that issue might be more of a regional issue, but the other stuff, housing, healthcare, secure elections, jobs. I mean, I think those are nationwide. Among these likely ballot measures in the November elections, 93% of Democrats and 70% of independents surveyed say establishing a fundamental right to abortion before fetal viability through a state constitutional amendment would more likely impact their decision to vote. Wow. Well, there you go, guys. Well, that's just the state of Arizona. I bet you a lot of those numbers are consistent nationwide. And why more and more Americans identify. In some polls, it puts independents as nationwide across all age groups, across all demographics. It puts independent voters upwards of 60% of the country. It's the largest block of voters, but because they don't all agree on everything, they're sort of no one wants to engage them. People only come to independent voters. The two parties come to independent voters with their issues. Hey, independents, do you support this Republican issue or do you support this Democratic issue? But they're huge. And if somebody came up with a real third party, which both the Republicans and Democrats actively will try to crush, they're trying to crush Jill Stein. They're trying to crush, the Democrats are trying to crush Jill Stein and the Republicans are trying to crush RFK. Like Trump recently, he said, yeah, I think Cornel West is great. I think Dr. Jill Stein is great. Trump just said that in a speech, which is hilarious. And then, the Republicans don't like RFK because RFK will probably get more Republican voters and Jill Stein will get, whatever. But Julian Assange is free. Independents are fed up, especially young independent voters. Gen Z, I told you I have 6 nieces and nephews that are all Gen Z, and I worry about their future because I can't afford to buy a house. I can't afford housing. I can barely afford. I live in a studio apartment in LA. I can barely afford to live in this country anymore. I'm strongly considering moving somewhere where it's more affordable because I can't afford to live here anymore. I'm going to pull my business out of here, which whatever. I don't think America gives a crap if a YouTuber, comedian, independent filmmaker leaves, but I can't do business in this country anymore. So, the ruling elites control everything, but there are more of us than there are of them. And pressure does work. I believe the pressure that was put on the United States government about Julian Assange and the UK government and the Australian government, and I think all of this pressure that is being put on the Biden administration and other governments, it's because they're giving money to Israel to commit a genocide. And when you have Holocaust survivors calling out what Israel is doing, and you have Jewish and Israeli organizations saying this ain't right, and they're protesting, and Code Pink, which is run by Medea Benjamin, who's Jewish, Dr. Jill Stein, who we've had on the show, is Jewish. When you've got all of these, Bet Salim, which is an Israeli organization, Breaking the Silence, which is an Israeli organization, when you've got countries saying we're done with what Israel is doing, and Israel is having, internal strife as a result of it. And the pressure people are putting on, the Democrats know they're going to lose votes. Biden is really could get crushed. Now, Trump is pro-Israel, as is RFK. And I think that's going to be a big issue. But everyone's fed up. Is some cataclysmic change going to happen this election cycle? I don't know. I don't want to hold out too much hope. But the people have had it. And the people are fighting back in new and different, interesting ways. And there's going to be revolts of all different types. Yeah. I mean, these college kids that have been protesting on campus, last month, that were peaceful protests. And a lot of those protests were organized by like Jewish groups and Jewish kids on campus. Like, hey, we don't support this genocide. And then they're attacked by like pro-Israel violent people, and the cops don't protect them. And then the cops throw them out of there. They're seeing firsthand what's happening. It's like a lot of young people got radicalized 2012 during the Occupy movement, when they went down there and they saw the cops treated them. And this is under the Obama administration. A lot of young people got radicalized, in 2020 when they were protesting in Portland and Minneapolis and these blue liberal states, and they saw liberal mayor, liberal city council, Democratic government, Democratic state government, and cops coming and kicking the crap out of them. Because the American empire is fascist, and it doesn't matter if there's a rainbow flag or an American flag. It's fascist. You have the overt fascism of Trump and the Republicans. That's fascist organization. The religious right is a fascist cult. And then you've got the subtle, like, woke fascism, but still the American empire is bombing all over the world. The American police department are kicking the crap out of protesters, just like they did at Standing Rock, just like they did at Occupy. Again, that was under the Obama administration. It's unreal. So this country's done, and people have had it. And you have 330 million people, and probably 1 to maybe 2 or 3% of the population is in a position to where they can move. So everyone else is going to have to stay here, and everyone else that stays here is going to go, And there's going to be protests and strikes and walkouts and general strikes and water, and so it's good that kids are waking up to this. Follow money connected dots, get the truth. And register as an independent and vote third party and shave your knuckles for justice. Oh, and buy Bitcoin. Boom.